Hello and welcome to Penguin TV. It is recorded by George Ephelis, aka Whiffy Penguin, and you can follow me on Twitter at Whiffy Penguin. Penguin TV is hosted by PureMTGO.com and sponsored by MTGOTraders.com. Get an 8% discount off all orders over $50 when paying with PayPal or credit card. And you can check out KeepYourGames.com and get an extra 20% off when trading paper for digital. Enjoy the videos. Hey everybody, so here is a deck that I've been calling Laboratory Witch, and it's basically this Laboratory Maniac guy over here that came out in Innistrad that I've been wanting to play with forever. Well, forever being relevant to the spoiling of the card 3 or 4 months ago. At any rate, so with the Mercadian Masks block, we got Divining Witch, which is a Demonic Consultation, reusable, which is a win condition for Laboratory Maniac. So, you know, like peanut butter and jelly, I decided to mix them together. And I've got a pretty rough deck list. One card that's not in here that most likely absolutely should be is Brainstorm. I tried building the deck without it to see if it would work, and I think that the deck needs Brainstorm. But let's get on with it. We've got 4 Wastelands and a Strip Mine to help keep us on tempo and keep things like Bazaar or Workshops off the table. And then we've got 1 Riptide Laboratory. This is like a last-ditch effort to save our Laboratory Maniac. I mean, we could also save our Dark Confidant, but if we've got Riptide Laboratory going with Maniac, we can save him from removal spells and bounce him back out with Aether Vial. That's the ideal plan, at any rate, and you could chump block with it. Moving right along, we've got 4 Undergrounds, and then 3 basic islands and a basic swamp. One of the reasons I do like this deck very much is that even with 18 lands, we have a rock-solid mana base. Maybe we could use another fetch land, and maybe that would be where the Riptide Laboratory gets moved to as another fetch. Or we can maybe even just cut an Underground Sea for another fetch land. But something you'll notice is there's lots of 4-ofs, and that is because of Divining Witch and Demonic Consultation. So that's our rock-solid blue-black mana base with a little bit of land destruction. Moving over to the acceleration, I guess. I mean, Aether Vial isn't really acceleration, but it is awesome. So basically, Tanglewire came out with Divining Witch, and in theory, Aether Vial, especially Aether Vial with Laboratory Maniac, would be a fantastic card against Tanglewire. You don't need your lands. You don't need Aether Vial to, you know, stay untapped every turn all the time. All you need is a little bit of time to get to 3 counters on your Vial. And if you manage to get a Divining Witch out and Laboratory Maniac against Workshops, all you need is a swamp and a basic. All you need is 2 land to activate the Witch. One of the things I really like about the Aether Vial in this build is that theoretically, all you need to win the game is 2 mana and to resolve Aether Vial, and you can win on turn 4, I believe. Sol Ring and Mana Crypt are not only to help accelerate out Maniacs or Dark Confidants or Witches, they are also there to help us pay for sphere effects out of the Workshop deck. Notice Mana Vault is not in here. I don't like Mana Vault because it doesn't untap. It's just a one-shot, and we need mana for the long haul. Moving right along, we've got 12 free counterspells. Force of Will, blah blah blah. Metal Misstep has been really good, especially in this very Delver-centric metagame. And it is, you have to max out on this when your win condition is a 2/2 creature. Having Misstep allows you to get rid of plows and bolts and paths, and even red elemental blasts. Daze, I'm not entirely sold on. However, because we're running Aether Vial, and we don't really need lots of mana, I do like Daze, because it's a free counterspell, and your opponent's not always going to play around it. Moving over, we've got 4 Spell Snare, and then 2 Spell Pierce. Spell Pierce generally hits everything, but with Spell Snare, Spell Snare hits our worst archetype in Oath of Druids. It stops Snapcaster Mage, which has been pretty popular, and it also hits spheres. So that's why I really like Spell Snare. And then there's the added bonus of getting hate bears. So I'm a big fan of Snare. Oh, there's 3 Snare and 3 Pierce. I'm sorry. So yeah, I'm a big fan of Snare. Out of the counter package, I think maybe the Dazes are the weak cards, and the ones that I would ship for Brainstorms. And then we've got Laboratory Maniac, which, if you would draw a card and you have no library, you win the game. So it combos with Demonic Consultation, and it combos with the Binding Witch, which is the whole point of the deck. I've got 4 Dark Confidant. Now, originally, the Dark Confidant was my draw engine. I didn't want to try libraries because I was going to be playing out my hand real fast. And I didn't want Gush. And I thought, why not try a deck without Brainstorm to see if I can do it? Dark Confidant filled every one of those roles, except for the powerful burst you get with Brainstorm. Drawing those 3 cards doesn't matter if 1 or 2 of them are blanks. If 1 of them is live, that's great. So Dark Confidant also can just win the game on his own. I mean, yeah, maybe you're not going to attack for all 20 with Dark Confidant, but if you draw 3 or 4 of your 18 counter spells, you can just ride him until you have a million cards in your hand. And I mean quite literally a million cards. Your deck will go from 60 cards to a million and whatever. We have all 4 restricted tutors. It's a 2-card combo. We want to be able to assemble it. And the best card to tutor for if you already have Maniac is Consultation, obviously. And then as a concession to creatures, we have a Pair of Dismember. Another card that this deck looks like it wants is Snapcaster Mage. So maybe Snapcaster Mage could be Dark Confidant, and then it would give the Riptide Laboratory a better reason to be there. I'm not sure. More testing of this will have to be done, but one of the reasons I played this deck is because recently on the YSO podcast, we put out a 4x Laboratory Maniac challenge, where if you 4-0 a daily event with Maniacs, you get to win 20 credits to eBots, which is some chain or other that sells standard cards, I think. And maybe foils. I think they sell foils too. No, I know they sell foils. But they've got standard cards, so you can trade those standard cards for classic cards, I suppose. Moving down to the sideboard, we've got our Dredge Hate, which Dredge we lose game 1 every time. I don't think it's possible for us to win game 1. Because we have to get to like turn 4. So we lose game 1 every time, and then we sideboard in 8 cards. Surgical Extraction also comes in against the various blue decks that are running with Snapcaster Mages, or even decks that are heavy with removal. You can counterspell the first one and get rid of the other 2 or 3 that they have in their deck, if you're worried about that with the Maniacs. Curfew, Oath of Druids. Now, Oath of Druids isn't completely unwinnable. We can definitely counterspell the Oath. We have 8 and 6, 14 cards that counterspell Oath of Druids. On top of the fact that you can set Aether Vial to 2, vial out a witch at the end of their turn, set it to 3 during your upkeep, vial out the witch, and then Demonic Consultation for Abandon Hope, which is the card that I like to go for the most. It's right up at the top, and it's a cool name, Abandon Hope, because you're about to lose. It's a Laboratory Maniac. So Curfew is for the Oath decks. It doesn't matter that they have Dragon's Breath. The only thing that matters is if they have a Brainstorm or a Jace. I doubt that we would get to play all 3 in a game, but having them and drawing them would be excellent. And then we have our requisite Workshop Hate, an Energy Flux that we can find with all of our artifacts, or all of our tutors, to affect artifacts, and then 3 Hurkyl's Recalls to bounce all of those said artifacts. In the sideboard, I'm not a big fan of the Hurkyl's Recalls. I don't think that they do enough for us. We're not going to have a ton of mana when we Hurkyl's Recall, so even getting to the 4 or 5 or 6 mana we're going to need to recall is sketchy. I'm not sure what I would replace. Maybe like 3 Steel Sabotages and just try and stop them on the stack. I'm not entirely sure. But this is the deck, and I played it in a daily event. Did not go so well, but I at least got to test out the idea. And I'll see you guys for round 1.